I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Snowpiercer After Show on AfterBuzz TV. I am your girl, Trina Dong, and of course, I am here with my right hand, Brian Santos. Hi, Brian.
Hi, how are you? So excited to be back with this show, to do it with you, and to chat about it. It's been a minute, so I'm ready to get into it.
It has been a minute. Guys, we have at AfterBuzz have been dark for the last 2 weeks. Of course, standing in solidarity with Black Lives Matter, we wanted to make sure all the important content was going up first. And so we're back, though, with Snowpiercer. We are talking episode 2 through 5 today. We're covered episode 1. Y'all probably saw that. We're going to get through the first half of the season. And there's a lot has been going on. Let's just tell me a little bit of what you think about everything.
I am so happy with the first half of the season. You know, I'll be completely honest, full transparency. This show has kind of been like a roller coaster. I'm like here and then I'm there because it's very graphic, so many things happening. But I have grown to like it, and I'm so happy with this episode 5 that we finally got the resolution to this first murder. What I do want to know now is kind of what's going to happen for the next half of the season. We've kind of got that resolution. So what is going to happen next? We will see.
I mean, we're going to talk about all the steps that it took to even get to maybe finding out who the murderer was. So there's a lot to go through. But first, let's just talk about, we talked about it a little bit in the first episode, actually probably a lot, but that was in advance of all the things that have now surfaced over the last 3 weeks. And this show is all about class. There is nothing else that the show is really about other than the differences that these people have decided really that they are to each other. So we have first class, which is obvious what that is. We have middle class people, or the second class, do they call it?
Second class,
the
yeah.
Working second class. So those are the people that are working. So that includes your officers and the people that are working for the community. And then you have your tailies, which is third class, which is basically the no ones. They don't get anything.
So there's actually, I think there's 4.
Oh.
So there's first, second, third, and then the tailies are not even a class. Because remember, they kind of jumped on the train. So first would be first, and then second, I think is, because I know like the doctor, so doctor's second, the doctor, the scientist, so those, I guess, high-level working jobs, and then like a blue-collar working job would be like a third class, and then a tailie is just, you know, how they treat them, exactly like a no class, underclass citizen, basically a nobody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit just about that, because throughout these last episodes, we'll start with episode 2, but everything kind of starts coming out. There's crazy, it starts like with an amputation, basically. And so, which is you, I'm glad I wasn't in that room with you watching it, because we would have not gone through it together. But so basically we learn that there's 3,000 people on this train, and the tailies are the nobodies, and they just tell them to sit there until they tell them not to sit there. What do you think about, so they also basically said that they do the odd jobs, the jobs nobody wants to do. And then they watch their children, they take the smart kids and they try to make them other things. What do you think about how these classes were determined and why everybody just settles with it?
It's crazy because, you know, from my understanding of the tailies, I feel like what we discussed or what we saw in that opening graphic is that they kind of invaded the train, I guess, or they're part of the tail and they kind of jumped on without being ticketed. They don't have a ticket. So I guess that's kind of why they're treated, you know, it's absolutely not okay the way they're treated, but that's why they're treated the way they are, is because they didn't join this train. Actually, they kind of invaded, they kind of took it over, they almost revolted against it, you know? So it's crazy how that's how things are happening. I mean, I guess what the classes, the first, second, and third class are looking at it is like, we could have easily let you die in the ice, but we brought you on this train with us. So take what you can get, which is horrific, literally.
Yeah.
But I think that's really what they're going through. And I think that's kind of why, like you said, they kind of just deal with it, because they know that they could either be alive in these horrible situations or they could be dead already.
Right. it's very, I mean, there's always two sides of it, right? You're going to say, oh, that's obvious what would happen because people are awful. But then there's the other side of it where the choice could have been, but you're going to let me stay alive, so why treat me like I'm dead?
For sure.
That's what it boggles my mind that all of those people, so there's 3,000 people, and they have all just kind of submitted to that one thing. And you're totally right, why? But they've submitted to this one theory, which is so representative of what's happening right now. Because, obviously racism, this ain't new. This is not new stuff. It is stuff that we've been, everybody before us has been dealing with, and kind of continues to, gets a little better, and then something big happens and we remember that it's kind of not. And so it's interesting because we all learn these behaviors from other people. Like, you're not born racist, classist. You make these decisions to follow along because someone taught you. And that's, I think, exactly what happens on this train. What do you think?
For sure. It's definitely the whole idea of kind of what's happening right now, like you mentioned, of if it's not happening to me, it's not really happening. So they're up in first, second, and third, maybe first and second more so, they're kind of feels that, back of the end kind of feeling. But for first and second, they're really like, oh, I'm perfectly fine up here. I got my ticket. I'm okay. I earned my spot to be here. So I don't care what's happening in the back to those, to the tailies, to the third class, to the working people, So it's absolutely awful. It's horrific. But like you said, definitely very representative of the world we're in right now, kind of what's happening, and what's been happening for so long, that we need a change in, that we're finally seeing a little bit of change now.
Yeah. And being completely complacent with, because you're safe. That's the biggest part, especially people like us right now. It would be easy to not talk, to not speak up, because nothing's currently happening to us. And so I think that is a representation too of the second and third class. Like, nothing's happening to you, so just sit there and then make sure nothing's happening to you.
Yeah.
But we don't really care about the people 10 feet from you, but why?
For sure. It's crazy.
This show. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on. So we get to where some of the stowaways are kept, where the rebels are kept. And they're basically put into a coma, right? Is basically what we can call it.
Yeah, it's kind of those drawers. It's so scary. It's like a morgue, but you're alive. Like, what the hell?
And you're just like waiting for, we don't know what. But
exactly.
then,
that's what I want to know. Why put them in the drawers? Just kill them. Like, what are you gonna do with them? There's no place for them to go. If the world's gonna end soon, like what's gonna be the outcome? Like, it's crazy.
It's like their prison, but like, for what?
Yeah.
Prison is already they're part of the train.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, but we figure out that this science kind of sucks, and Nikki starts to wake up.
Yes.
What do you think about? Yeah, like, based on what we just said, since the science, obviously she's not the first person to wake up. What do you think about this even existing?
Yeah, it's crazy. And obviously what they learned from her is that you feel some kind of aftermath. You feel some kind of effects of being in this medically induced coma, which is not really, it's basically like being on the brink of death. So in a sense, it's kind of like necromancy, I guess, because they're essentially dead, they're in a coma, and then they're revived, and they're kind of like a shell of a person. They have these physical, mental, emotional effects from being in this coma, so it's awful. Everything on this train is awful. I mean, it's the situation is just crazy that it's obviously a dystopian world. That's right, we're right, dystopian, utopia.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's like a dystopian world where things were I'm like but things were kind of already gonna end, and they kind of had to just make the best of what was gonna happen, what they could salvage. But this is just crazy. It's crazy to see what's happening, that there's this classism, there's these in medically induced comas, everything is just wild. Not Olivia
and just
Wilde.
Like another not Olivia Wilde, no. Wild without an E. It's just doesn't make any sense. It's an extra step of torture for no reason. They're wasting their time.
Yeah. I mean, just the easiest thing to do is lock them up aware, so that they can feel like basically like prison. But with these
But
drawers, I guess, and I think it's kind of jumping a little far ahead, but I think what we saw with how they did it to Layton is it's more of a mental torment, So that's kind of,
mhm,
if you're in jail, you can kind of like you're gonna go through it. You're gonna go
yeah,
physical, you're gonna get some mental torment. But to be in those drawers, it really messes with your mind. You're just sitting there with your thoughts truly. So that's maybe what their idea is or what they want. It's like that extreme level of mental like torture basically.
absolutely. Well, let's move on to the next episode and talk about some more torture. Fight
Ooh.
night.
Oh my god.
Oh, first, we should actually cover that all the cows died.
Oh, I know the cows. Oh my
And
gosh. How about the
so,
strawberries?
oh my
Are they
gosh,
still okay?
the strawberries are fine, but the cows are not. And so now Melanie is kind of losing grip a little bit, I think we could
Yeah.
say. Like she's
Hmm.
losing a little bit of her control
Yeah.
and her things aren't balanced. And so
Hmm.
she's also treating Layton a certain way. She's keeping him at an arm's length, but she's telling him stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure, but we can get into it more further, but in episode 2, so we'll keep it
Yeah.
moving. Okay, so we're at fight night. The classes are all together.
Hmm.
What did you think when you saw the merged classes?
Oh gosh, I knew there was gonna be friction. That's obvious already. That's the reason why they have the classes. The reason why First says I'm staying up here in my nice, cushy, fruit platter layout and everything. And I'm gonna stay, very far away from them, 1,000 cars away from them, ideally. So I knew there was gonna be some kind of friction, and it all just kind of went wild.
Went crazy. And also, it's totally a setup for people to find out more of
Yes.
what goes on in each, like, everybody's, especially first class, their little ears are wide open for
Hmm.
what everybody else is saying. Do you have any hopes of what was going to be revealed?
I don't know.
Or
I
were you
did
just
want to
like,
see this fight night. I was nervous to see it because, like you said, it's going to
yeah,
be a mix of classes. But I didn't really expect anything to be revealed in the murder aspect. I just knew there was going to be some kind of tension or some kind of butting heads with the classes all kind of converging.
yeah. Well, it went buck wild as presumed. so much, so much happened. But I do want to touch back on what we were just talking about on Melanie and her just giving little tidbits. Why do you think at this point she's not telling Layton everything that she knows, even though he's there to help her?
Yeah, I think that's just the struggle she's been dealing with this entire time on the train. For the last 7 years, she's been, I don't know, and I also want to learn that too. Maybe we'll learn it more in the next couple episodes about Mr. Wilford. Like, was he really a Mr. Wilford and then he passed away and then Melanie took over, or was she just the brains behind it the whole time? That's probably a prediction. But what I
Yeah.
do want to know is basically why she's not sharing with everybody else. And, Layton, obviously, I think the reason, like you said, she's keeping him at arm's length is because he is just beginning to discover things. And maybe the
Mm.
reason she's not sharing is because he's a detective, because he has a mind for figuring things out. So I feel like if
Oh,
she drops more than she wants or what more than that she thinks is enough for him to just figure out the murder, he's going to begin to figure
yeah.
out everything else happening on the train. So I think
Yeah.
the only one that knows is her engineers and then the scientist, right? Not even the doctor knows.
No, the doctor doesn't know.
Yeah, so it's just her, Melanie, and those three other people that know her secret. So I
Yeah.
think she's just trying to keep her circle as tight as possible, especially like I mentioned, with Layton being of that kind of detective world where he kind of can figure things out better than most people. That's probably why
Yeah.
she's keeping her a tight lip and keeping him at arm's length.
And also, he's obviously still aligned with
Yeah,
his
with the tailies,
with
yes.
yeah, like there's no way that he in her eyes is going to fully go to her side.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's what she's also trying to test is loyalty because I guess, well, like I said, I guess we'll also learn that more, but that's probably what she
Yeah.
established with those three people. She established some kind of loyalty, some kind of, I guess, agreement with them that they know enough and that they're willing to keep the secret for whatever reason.
Tell me
Crazy.
anything you specifically want to cover for fight night. Anything specific that happened that you need to get off your system before we move on to episode 4?
I feel like you're fishing for me to say something, but
No, I'm not. I'm not
okay,
fishing. I just want to know.
Like, okay,
because
no, I'm
I have a hard time stomaching it.
No. Yeah,
The whole thing.
I want to move on.
So
Like,
it was brutality.
yeah,
And that's all. We'll move on from there. Okay.
yeah.
So because of that, episode 4, we know that Nikki is dead. Correct? Yes. So
yes.
Nikki, or did that happen at the end of fight night?
I don't remember. See, honestly, because everything, like I mentioned, everything kind of goes together. You know, it's all in the development of the murder mystery. I get lost of when things actually happen.
Exactly. So after fight night, she died. And but so the good thing that came from fight night is all the borders are broken down. And so, but then they decide to sweep the entire train.
Yes.
What did you?
It's so crazy. Okay, let me just shout out real quick. We finally have someone in the chat. Hey, Ivan, we love you. Thanks for being here with us. He was wondering where we were at with the discussion. We finally got to episode 4. Says LJ is a psychopath, and then he did confirm that end of fight night is where Nikki was killed. So perfect. So fight night was wild. And then we moved straight into kind of the aftermath in episode 4, which was crazy. And I just wanted to see what was going to happen with them kind of doing that whole sweep. Because again, you know, it's the whole thing about everyone kind of converging, everyone kind of being exposed for their classes. So it was definitely kind of nerve-wracking for me to see that. I wasn't prepared.
No, frankly, let's just be real with everyone. We are never prepared for anything that happens in this show.
If you follow either Trina or I, we are usually on Never Have I Ever, you know, Katie Keene. We do some fun, lighthearted stuff, and we love this show. But it's definitely very much a what's the right word I'm looking for? It's very much like a departure from our usual, you know,
our daily lives.
Most of the time, we're just kind of like more like this, watching the show, and we're kind of just like,
Exactly. Okay, so let's see, where are we at? So we see that Eric is the killer, but they don't.
Yes.
So we see it, they don't. We find out that he didn't come home that night before, and that who said that LJ made him kill?
Was it the daughter, right?
Oh yeah, the daughter.
Yeah.
Yes.
She was bringing up like their past, how they kind of got, how they, I guess, ascertained his services, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that all happens, and then so LJ is being questioned during this. So the privilege has shown through. She's trying to be so sneaky, get around all the questions, not really care. This is another, you know, play on things that we see happening today in these scenarios. People not taking ownership of what they're doing, people using their privilege for their own good and no one else's, and also just expecting things because of who you are, because of what you look like, because of how much money you have. What did you think when this questioning was happening? Did you expect it? What did you think?
I loved it, and I was happy. You know, we mentioned that Layton has those detective skills, and he used those. He literally got to the nitty gritty, you know, asked the right questions, looked at her body language, everything to kind of get an idea inside her mind. Because, you know, like Ivan said in the chat, she's a psychopath, a sociopath, and a psychopath. So basically,
she's a path.
She's pathologically something. But yeah, Layton got inside her mind and really understood what she was thinking, her motivations. So it was great to see that. I loved it, and I loved how it gave us, of course, the development of the resolution that she was a big part in these murders. Yeah, essentially the killer.
Finally. Gosh, it's so long. Okay, so let's talk about Melanie. So Melanie is in power of this whole operation, right? Why do people listen to her?
Because she's the voice of Mr. Wilford, which is wild, but I guess
but they don't know.
Exactly. So she is using this power like that. I love that. exchange where she's like, I want to talk to Mr. Wilford. And she's like, okay. And then she was like, and then she just like looked at her and she has like this presence and she's like, okay, I'll back down. Like, I love that
Yeah.
so much. And like you mentioned, everyone just listens to her. They kind of just fall at her whim because she has this presence and this power of being the voice of Mr. Wilford. So I guess they're looking at her as the face of the train. You know, she is the face, she's the voice. She's essentially Mr. Wilford, but not him, I guess.
Right.
So it's weird. But also I want to talk about her while we're on her. Someone else was on her.
Bryant only likes when people are on top of other people,
yes,
mostly.
That's me. You know, that's my usual gig. She was getting, I can say this because this is a rated TV mature show, but she was literally getting railed on a railroad, you know? So he was giving it to her. Come on, boy. And that was it. Goodbye.
That was it. Goodbye. It's so weird because the train is such a weird place because it's also very scary because it feels like that train could just fall as an avalanche of its own at any second.
Yes.
And so any activities that happen on the train just make me nervous. And that was one of them. Because I was like, you could be an icicle in a second, but
I mean, I guess they know that life is so
do
fragile
your thing.
already. They're just
thankful that it happened so that Bryant could watch it happen.
They're literally just like, life is so fragile already. You know what? F it. We just gotta live. We gotta live our best lives, literally, no matter what. Really quick, I'm gonna shout out Ivan. He has a couple questions, which I love.
Do it.
Wondering if we're surprised that the murder was kind of closed so soon. I would say yes, because we're only halfway throughout the season. Like I mentioned, I want to know what else is left. I guess, I don't know if we're going to go into maybe another murder, if we're going to get more development into Melanie's backstory. So I guess we'll kind of touch on that more with predictions. And he's also saying that Melanie has been sloppy. Do you think Melanie's kind of been sloppy with her keeping the secret, you know, of kind of loosening her lips just a little bit and letting more people in?
I think it's because of that control thing.
Yeah.
She like is loosening up because she's losing her control. So I think she's trying to gain it in other ways that maybe she thinks people are going to provide her with info. Maybe she feels more secure with less like on her mind. Who knows? But I think he's right for sure. But I'm not sure if she's doing it intentionally to be messy or if she's doing it because she is a mess.
Come on, hot mess. Come on, hot mess. She's a hot mess. I love it. I live for her.
We don't know. But I was surprised that the murder is closed. Yes.
For sure. Me too.
Yes.
So
I
will
was.
see what is happening.
Absolutely. We will see. Anything else about episode 4 that you want to hit before we knock out episode 5?
No, let's jump into it. I mean, I already jumped into it a little bit, but
yeah, you jumped into it because he couldn't control himself from his favorite scene in the entire okay, so this scene with LJ and her father with the eyeball.
Ew.
Guys, so the show, you've all seen the show, episode 5 at this point. Every time you think it's gonna start, maybe like relax, maybe we'll actually just get to chill, something buck wild happens. You all saw that LJ like pouted to get her dad's glass eyeball and then she put it in her mouth.
Why? I just want to know why. That's all I'm gonna ask from the creators of the show. What? I mean, if there was something to give, like some kind of, okay, I guess it makes sense now that we talk about it. Now that Ivan mentioned that she's a sociopath, I guess it adds to this idea that she's just out of her damn mind. But I just want to know why. Like, there was other ways to portray the fact that she's out of her mind besides her sucking on her dad's eyeball like a jawbreaker. Like, what?
Don't say sucking on. This is terrible.
It was, and the way that he like popped it out, he was like, boop, like, oh, like, and then it reminded me of like the one from Hercules, the Fate.
Yeah.
When they just pop out the eye, they're like, here's the eye girl. Like, it was like that. It was so gross, literally.
So gross. And it reminded me, I wrote down that it reminded me of Gossip Girl meets Charlie and the Chocolate Factory's Veruca Salt. Because that was like the weird, eerie vibes of like, I can do whatever I want. But then it took it a step further. You know what I mean? Like
the bubblegum girl, right?
No, she's the one that's just like the really mean one.
Okay, the
Farouk
bubblegum girl. No, is she the bubblegum girl, right? She
Oh
likes
wait,
chewing
the bubblegum
bubblegum?
girl, not the
Yeah, right?
blueberry, the bubblegum
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah, she likes chewing bubblegum and
Yes,
because she has the world record for being a bubblegum chewer or whatever.
for being a big
Yeah.
jerk.
Yeah.
And that's what this girl reminds me of. She's just like, Daddy, I can do whatever I want, including put your eyeball in my mouth. And that
Yeah.
is a weird reflection of her privilege as well, of her brattiness, of her do whatever I want. I don't have anything in real life to compare that to specifically, but that was the worst thing I've ever watched.
And you know what's interesting I want to mention as well? I don't know if you caught this, but from the first 5 episodes, she was kind of like giving us this idea that she was on the side of the other classes, right?
Yes.
Okay, I knew I wasn't the one that caught that. So she was always like intrigued. She was like, why are we doing this? Why do we get this kind of privilege or whatever? She's throwing out these little nuggets. And then we come to find out that she's the one that's capitalizing on her privilege the most. So it's like she really is a sociopath. And Ivan, you hit the nail on the head. He even said, he's like, do you think the show wants to do idiotic stuff like that just because they're mature? And I think so. Like they literally, they're just like, what can we do that just like throws us to the wall?
I think we both felt that way is because of like her hipster chic vibes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so we're like, oh, she's gonna be cool. She's a millennial.
Yes.
We
thought she was gonna be here for everybody else, but no, she is just she's not it. She's not it.
Okay, Bryant, go ahead and talk about your favorite thing again.
No, we already talked about it.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
So episode 5 wraps up. I know a lot of things now. Tell me what you think.
I'm just ready to move on. Honestly, this was a roller coaster of this murder mystery. I love a good murder mystery. I love Riverdale. This was Riverdale on times 5,000.
Whoa.
Because in Riverdale, they don't show you the real murder. I mean, they kind of do, but not like this graphic. You know, again, it's TV mature. So it was a lot. But I did enjoy it. I did love seeing this resolution. And again, I guess what I want to see next is just kind of where we're gonna go from here. You know, are we gonna get more about Melanie, more about Layton, more about the tailies, more about Mr. Wilford? That's what I really want to know. So
yeah. Well, let's talk quick about predictions, just because we went there. But I think no, that's good, because I was gonna say that I think episode 5, I'm glad we had the resolve. I'm glad we figured out the murder. I'm glad the murderer is dead and all of those things. But I think that we're about to dive in to some darkness of the tailies and things that they do to each other.
Oh my God. Seriously.
I think there's no way that all those people just sit there angry at the other people for 7 years.
Yeah,
like they're
and
definitely
that's what we got with Layton, right? With the, his, I guess those are memories or flashbacks of the cannibalism. Oh my God, that's one thing that really I can't deal. Oh my God, like I can deal with a lot.
Cannibalism
like, there was cannibalism on Vampire Diaries, and that was like I could not. Like
well, because we know the big issue. If there's cannibalism on this show, we're seeing it. Yeah. Like they're gonna show us.
Oh my God.
And
oh my God.
That is going to be difficult. But it makes sense though, because they're starving.
Yeah. Did we ever get any development of what those bricks are? No. Is it like dirt or no? It can't be dirt. Where they get dirt? Maybe it's dirt. I feel like maybe it's like manure or like fertilizer from the plants. Oh my God, that's so crazy. Literally. Oh my God. Well, by the way, Ivan has a quick prediction. He said there's no Mr. Wilford. Yeah. So maybe that's a thing. Because I think Rachel was talking about this in our first episode that there was a Mr. Wilford on the movie, right?
Yeah.
So there could be a departure, in this show that there's actually no Mr. Wilford, that she really is the brains behind the entire operation. I would love that, especially as a feminist. I would love that this girl who grinded from MIT put together this entire operation to essentially save the world. Yeah. So you know what? Go ahead, Melanie.
But had to put a Mr. so someone would take her seriously.
Exactly. That is also a testament to what is happening today as well.
Absolutely.
So, you know what, Snowpiercer? I'm here for it.
Come through, Miss Wilford.
Come on, Miss Wilford.
We got you. So that's what I think's gonna happen. Okay, so Ivan thinks Miss Wilford, straight up. I think total drama in tailies. You think likely cannibalism. Any other predictions for the last part of this season or the first half of the season?
I want to know what's going to happen. I think there is going to be some more development of the rebellion from the back end because of Melanie saving LJ. Because I was
Oh,
so pissed with that too. Because I was like, oh my gosh, here we go. We finally got some kind of justice. You know, the three people representing the classes, even the person representing first class voted.
yeah.
That'll also be something interesting to see if it was unanimous or if it was
Yes.
majority. That, like, those little details, you know, that'll be really interesting to see as well. But I just want to know more development of that because obviously everybody behind first class is furious. So I want to know more about that.
But maybe first class like overthrows Melanie and then they somehow start helping. Maybe something happens where
Mm.
the bad guys become good guys and good guys become bad guys. Maybe ends up being some of
Oh.
that.
Maybe I can see that. I can see that because we did also see those elements of the other first class, just kind of like, you know,
Yeah.
like I'm not into that. Like they're just trying to live their life kind of
Yep.
thing, you know. So okay, I see that. I see that happening.
Let's do a real quick special segment. I should have done this a couple minutes ago, but I want to do it again because episode 1, the four of us, which by the way, we have 2 other panelists, guys, Rachel and Ashley. We miss you guys. We will see them back together, all of us back together next week.
Yeah.
So the first episode, we talked about which class we would want to be in. I think both of us said first.
Yes.
Because obvious reasons why
yes.
we said
yes.
that, because maybe, and we just wanted like brunch every day.
Same.
And so
Same. Come on, fruit platter.
exactly. They have these like pearl and gold cups, and that's what I want.
Yes, come on, coffee. I wouldn't be able to live without coffee, honestly.
We know. But now that we've seen the first 5 episodes, which would you want to be in?
Honestly, I would say second now because I feel like they're definitely the middle because like they really are kind of like watching everything happen. Like they're not all the way at first. They're not those privileged people or, you know, the majority privileged people that first class are. They still kind of have to have a job and they kind of have to work and help society move along, but they're not dealing with as much difficulty as third or of course the tailies are, you know. So second is probably where it's at. And I like how they're kind of, I feel like with the show, they kind of don't broach second too much. They kind of leave that room for interpretation. They leave second as like this, okay, maybe they're kind of in the middle. They're kind of just dealing with things on their own and kind of just watching things transpire.
Yeah, I agree with you too. I also think they're just the safest.
Yeah.
Because people are paying less attention to them and they're also needed for emergency things.
Yeah,
like they're
scientists
needed
and
in
doctors and
exactly.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Yay, we did it. So that wraps up our after show for episode 2 through 5. Very excited to get into the second half of the season. Until then, Bryant, where can all of our viewers find you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok at the Brian Santos. I've been sorry we didn't chat about that, but that was definitely a big storyline with the kind of Taily revolution. So we'll touch on that again next episode. We'll kind of do a little recap of it because we're kind of running out of time. But yeah, you can find me all there on all socials at the Brian Santos, and yeah.
And y'all can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Hey Trina Dong. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.